everybody. Welcome back to the Skookum Report. Tonight's Bigfoot encounter comes to me from Sir Philip. He doesn't give where he lives or whether or not he wants to be anonymous, so I will just call him Sir Philip. Thank you for sending that in, bud. Well, he writes, okay, so it was 1 or 2 years ago today. I was out on a camping trip with my scout troop at Bald Eagle Mountain State Park. I think that's what it was called, in Pennsylvania. We were going there for 2 nights and 3 days. We left on a Friday and we were coming back that Sunday. Our camp was beside a large creek that was very rocky. This place was very mountainous and forested, as it is a state park. The first night I heard tree knocking and howls, and the howls weren't coming from a wolf. Now, at the time, I did know about the tree knocking and whatnot because I had seen them, that show, Finding Bigfoot, and I saw them beating on trees, and it's supposed to be some way of communication or something. Now, when I was younger, I saw that, so I was quite scared but excited as well if this is what was actually happening. But I ended up getting to sleep eventually, and then the next night I heard them again, but I didn't care as I was very tired from the 7-mile hike we had just taken. But I highly suggest you visit this place. The hiking is nice, and you can get some really great views. Now, I was knocked right out, and I woke up extra early because nature called, and I was also the bugler. So I woke up early, more before everybody else, and I went to the river to do my business. There were bathrooms, but I couldn't find them, so I just went where it made sense. To me at the time, I just went up towards the river. So I went over to the river. I stopped on the top of the valley thing and looking down into the valley where the river had formed, and I looked down, and there it was, a Sasquatch standing right there. She was banging on a tree that was growing on the bank with a really large stick. Now, the Squatch was about 6 to 7 feet tall, but due to me being on an incline, it might have made a difference in its height. It might have appeared shorter. It also had visible breasts. It had blackish-brownish fur, and I believe it to be a female Sasquatch. Now, it looked at me, and it roared, and I got scared to death. I ran to my tent, grabbed my K-bar, and started praying. I went, by the way, but not where I had hoped, if you know what I mean. When that was over, I waited for the scoutmaster to get up, and I changed into some different pants. And I didn't tell a single soul about this until now. Later, I explored the river and found the stick and the wood chips from it. Now that I look back, I decided to look the place up, and I found out that there was sightings there as recently as this October. Now, my grandfather has a short story I'll share with you. I was talking to him one day about Bigfoot, and he said that during patrol in Vietnam, he was in Vietnam, and my grandfather was on a patrol with some other guys, and he had some pretty large rocks thrown at all of them and at him, and they couldn't shoot due to the rules of engagement. But a few guys got hit by these rocks, and they just ran and got out of there. And they didn't find out what it was till later on when they asked about it. Well, Sir Philip, I appreciate you sending that in to me, bud. And that's a pretty cool story, both of them, you and your grandfather. Seeing that Sasquatch down by the river, looking up at you and roaring, that's quite an event, I would say. I have a short encounter story for you this evening. But it's a good one, though. It's short and sweet, and it comes to me secondhand from a young lady named Deb, who had a phone conversation with this gentleman, and she took notes and passed it along to me so I could tell his story. Now, the guy's name was Rod, and his cousin, they were both 9 years old when this happened. They were visiting Rod's uncle's farm, and they were riding ponies one day down a trail. And they said that all of a sudden the ponies started acting funny, and it's like they were smelling something in the air They reared up with the boys on them, and they wouldn't go a step further. They would not go any further. And that's when the boys both saw this hairy, naked woman walking out of the apple orchard carrying a handful of apples. Her hand had a lot of apples in it. Both arms filled up, I guess. This being was black with a brown tint, and it had breasts. Now the boys freaked out, started crying, and quickly rode the ponies back to his uncle's house, back to the farm. Rod said that he peed himself because he was so scared. They told his uncle, but his uncle didn't believe him. And 3 days later, the uncle took the boys back to the apple orchard where they found tracks. They followed the tracks, but they didn't see anything. And the boys got a lot of ridicule for this. Rod's grandmother also took him aside and said that she believed him because she had seen one come off the hill, walk through the woods, and go down the mountainside one morning when she was out doing chores and watering her chickens. She said that she could tell it was a male and it had a red tint to it. Now, another thing that Rod mentioned was someone in the family had mentioned a few years later seeing out the second story bedroom window, a Sasquatch eating sweet corn from a feed barrel. Did I get that out? I think he said, that was a few years later, though. Yeah, that's it. That's a short but sweet encounter story. 2 young boys saw a Bigfoot, and then someone else in the family validated it, so that's good. But if you or anybody you know has seen a Bigfoot, had an encounter, or just gotten a phone call from one, I don't mind. Shoot me an email at skookumreport@gmail.com. That's skookumreport@gmail.com. And I'll be sure to get your encounter up on the channel for you. No problem at all. We'd appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button and leave a comment and say hi if you could. Tell us how you're doing. If you have any questions or anything like that. But that's about it for tonight, and I'll probably see you all tomorrow with a much longer story probably tomorrow. But God bless you all and take care. And that's it for tonight. Skookum Report. Bye.